Teachers, what's the worst case of no, not my child you've ever seen from a parent who's been called in for their kid's behavior? Hey guys, giveaway for you. To join the giveaway, you just need to join the recent Discord server we created only for you. One of the first 100 people to join will get something from our sponsor. Link in the description. Story 1. There was a kid in my class whose father was a Wall Street banker and his mom was a doctor. Basically, the kid's parents were never around. This kid was the freaking worst. He would stick tacks on other kids' chairs when they got up to blow their nose or sharpen their pencil. I caught him rifling through other students' lunches one morning and he had a pack of Twinkies in his hand. I told him to put the Twinkies back and sent him to the principal. One time he was having a beef with some other kid and waited for the kid to use the bathroom, followed him in, and punched him in the gut. There are no security cameras in the bathroom and he didn't leave a mark, so nobody could really prove anything one way or the other. During parent-teacher conference I told his mom that her son needs to stop playing poker on his Apple Watch during class as well as some other proven behavior problems. She flew off the handle and said, "How dare you accuse my son of doing that stuff, you dumb broad." That conversation explained a lot about where he got it. Story 2. A 4-year-old boy in my class was picking fights on a daily basis and would lash out at teachers that tried to intervene. Punching, kicking, throwing chairs, screaming at the top of his lungs. He was being raised by his grandma who was thoroughly convinced that everything we told her was exaggerated or that the other kids were the ones starting the fights. When I was 6 months pregnant, he was mad that outside time was over, so he pushed me with both of his arms right in my belly. When I told his grandma, she asked if I was having a girl. She chuckled. He's fighting with her, because boys and girls don't get along. It'd be a miracle if that kid doesn't end up in prison. Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, my child is totally perfect and the shove didn't do any damage. Also, for those suggesting the kid should have been shoved or smacked or kicked across the room, please keep in mind that he was 4. As teachers, it's our jobs to be more control of our emotions than our students. Story 3. Not a teacher, but my wife volunteered at the school store where kids could buy erasers, pencils, etc. 2 older girls repeatedly came in and stole things, on camera, while she was working. She reported it and they called the girls and the parents in, told them what happened and they said their children wouldn't do that. Then the school showed the parents the video and the parents still claimed their children wouldn't steal, all while watching it happen on video. They were banned from the store and the parents actually said that the school was just being racist because their daughters wouldn't steal. Story 4. 3 kids in a 4-5 split didn't like one of their teachers. During journal time they decided to get together and drew a picture of that teacher, surrounded by penises and the words "sucks junks for money." Obviously, the teacher found it and showed the principal who called the parents in. These were 10-11-year-olds, 2 girls and 1 boy. The parents of the girls were mad, but the mother of the boy refused to believe it was him. She went back and forth with the principal, completely denying her son's involvement until the principal finally had enough, slammed her hand down on the book and yelled, "It's in his journal," and the little genius signed his name. Story 5. Many years ago I had this awful boy in the next class with a girl that was not at all there. I was the teacher next door. They were about 7. One of the boys was basically banging the girl up against the desk from behind very hard and it was hurting the girl. So he'll pull back a bit and then slam himself as hard as he can against her butt as she's bent over a table. These kids are 7, so who knows what's going through their head. I'm not implying anything. Shouted stop. They stopped. Then I told their teacher. That's all I did. Teacher wrote a note home. Parent comes in livid, shouting at everyone saying I scared the kid. Doesn't matter what their kid was doing. If I ever say anything to the kid again they'll get me fired. Boss watched the video, cleared me of wrongdoing. Notes the kid had been abusing that girl for a while before I got there. Told the parents. She didn't give 2 fricks. Railed on about how I traumatized her child by yelling stop while her kid was assaulting a mentally handicapped girl. Story 6. A kiddo tried to bite a classmate and his dad flipped out. These kids are between 1 and 2.5 at this point, so some biting is par for the course. It's a really common behavior that can come from a lot of causes, so seasoned toddler teachers don't generally panic. I like to give families a gentle heads up if I notice their kid attempt a bite, even if it's unsuccessful. This starts the conversation early, so if they manage to bite someone and leave a mark, it's not as shocking since I'm required to do paperwork when someone causes an injury. This usually works really well at helping families know that I'm not kicking their kid out or punishing them for biting. But this dad lost it. He claimed his child has never bitten and would never do that, and accused me of teaching, letting him learn to bite. No level of talking about his child's positive behaviors or the science behind biting helped. He started making demands that I punish any child who bites to discourage the behavior. We didn't get along well for the rest of the year. Story 7. I had a boy in my classroom who would spit at the girls, pinch other kids, and generally was not very social. When I told his mother that he was not paying attention during class and runs around and distracts other pupils even though they told him several times to leave them alone, she wouldn't hear it. She just answered that he must be up during class because he is so helpful. In her opinion, the boy wasn't distracting the others, he was helping. She wouldn't hear any of the other things I told her, simply ignored it. Then she complained that there was too much homework and that it was too difficult because she couldn't do it for him anymore. At that point I just WTF'd in my head and hoped for the conversation to be over soon. Story 8. My friend is a teacher. She had a kid who threatened to shoot up the school last year. I guess it got pretty far as it was considered a viable threat, and the police were called. They searched his house for weapons, found some minor weapons from my understanding, but no major guns or anything. The items were confiscated and he continues to go to the school in her classes. He looks up white supremacy and gun stuff on the computers at school regularly. His mom says the situation last year was just his little mistake. Side note, this was not in the US. Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to help out the channel. But first, a word from our sponsor, Light Gallery. It's a game changer when it comes to illuminating your living space. If you're looking to add a touch of creativity to your home, this is the perfect solution. They offer a varied collection of high-quality illuminating objects. The last couple of days I had the chance to try out their realistic moon lamp. I have to say that my room caught a new feeling. And not only this, but this lamp is shown to improve focus, which was really important for creating awesome stories for you. Light Gallery offered 15% off if you use the code CARL7. But hurry, it's only for the next 72 hours. Link in the description, and let's get back to the stories. Story 9. I follow a lot of crime news. A 16-year-old boy murdered this girl who was supposedly pregnant with his kid and didn't tell him after 6 months. I guess she had some foresight into the type of person he was but still wanted to keep the kid. Anyway, the guy's parents come out saying it wasn't his fault. He would never do something like that. He has always been a good boy. Makes me wonder if his family is just in denial or if you really can't know what somebody may be plotting even in your own home. Story 10. Was a teacher in my previous career. It was a private school with uniforms, but one girl showed up in a skirt that was just too short. It barely covered her butt, much less anything else when she bent over. When we had parent-teacher conference, I had the opportunity to mention it to her mom. Of course, she said, "No, not my child," because mom's skirt was just as short. Why bother putting your daughter in a school with uniforms when you don't bother to follow the rules? They left after that year. Wonder why. Story 11. Not a teacher, but I can present my mom for this one. A teacher suspected I had ADHD and spoke to me about it before talking to my mom about it. I freely admit I have the attention span of a nervous chihuahua on crack, so it was no big deal to me if this teacher tried to do me a favor. My mom went off on her for accusing me of having a problem and acted like this teacher attempted to murder her with a broken bottle. I've wanted to contact this teacher now that it's years later and have been unable to find her since then, since I feel like I owe her an apology for my mother's behavior and a thank you for trying. Story 12. A mother whose son was excluded from school and she had been asked to make sure he was supervised at home. She insisted he did everything they asked and was never a problem at home. I telephoned her to make an appointment to meet her with him and asked if he was at home. She said he was and was sitting at the dining table with her doing the work he had been set by the school. I said that was odd as I could actually see him as I was speaking to her. He was busy riding on a motorbike on the field outside my office, shouting freaking wankers at the classrooms and flicking the verses at us all. She said I must be mistaken. I asked if she could put him on the phone so I could speak to him, and there was a pause followed by her saying he's just popped out to the corner shop to get me some cigarettes. Really? I took a video of him on my iPad as he drove back past on his motorbike shouting and swearing unmistakable. Story 13. A kid whipped a knife out in class while he was sitting beside me and brandished it. Then he folded it closed and put it away. His mother lost her goddamn mind because I had the campus police officer come get him. She started with the whole "he didn't do it" rant, and I countered that with the "ol' hey, he waved a knife" in my freaking eyeball defense. And then it became a "well, he found that knife in the bathroom, it wasn't even his." She eventually quoted the well-known legal precedent, "It's not like he stabbed anyone, why can't they bring knives to school?" The mother herself ended up having to be escorted off campus by the police after she threatened the assistant principal that was in the behavior manifestation meeting with us. Story 14. Not a teacher. My nephew was playing Minecraft at a friend's house with his bestie. Both boys have autism. The friend's father is a world-renowned expert in it and cybersecurity. They were playing on a private server set up by the dad. The boys got into a fight because the nephew was spawn camping the friend. The friend then logged in as an alt and blew up a building that the nephew was working on for several hours. The fight escalated until the friend held down the nephew and started punching him. When confronted, the nephew admitted spawn camping, while the friend claimed that someone had hacked in and dynamited the building. Not him. His mother believed her son rather than accepting that the chances of someone penetrating a hardened network and server just to blow up a stranger's building and MC and disappear without a trace were practically non-existent, while the chances of a preteen boy acting like a jack out of retribution and lying about it to avoid getting into trouble are virtually 100. Story 15. I was an English teacher on my dad's private high school, caught him selling drugs and with stolen property in his backpack. Because of child protections laws in Venezuela, you can't search students or accuse them with police, or even expel them because that would make the student feel bad. We called his mom and she started yelling at us because her kid was such an angel, and how dare us, and that we were all against her poor child. A week later he was shot 17 times in gang shootout and she came asking us to go to the funeral.